For Nigeria to win the war against corruption, efforts of government and anti-corruption agencies must be complemented by the determination of the people to build a just and accountable society. This is the submission of speakers at a two-day workshop aimed at training civil society groups, journalists, anti-corruption agencies and other stakeholders on how to track Nigeria's stolen funds stashed abroad.
It was a gathering of stakeholders in the anti-corruption campaign in Nigeria: NGOs, journalists, lawyers, anti-corruption agencies, the police, bloggers, and other interested persons. The purpose of the workshop is simple: how to track funds stolen from Nigeria and kept abroad. It is believed that one of the major challenges where corruption is still thriving in Nigeria is because there is not enough knowledge on how to track the funds once it leaves the shores of the country. This workshop, therefore, is to teach participants on how to use technology to search for how stolen funds are spent in Europe.
I think Europe especially is coming to recognize that corruption in Africa is affecting them, because most of these migrants you see who cross the Sahara Desert and the Mediterranean Sea to come to Europe are victims of social inequality and social injustice. And they're now becoming social problems in the doorstep of Europe. If you go to Spain now, to some cities in Spain, they are occupied by migrants who are living on the streets. Some go into crime when they have nothing else to do. Bearing that in mind, they now recognize that you need to tackle the problem from within Africa, stop corruption.
For us, is to bring the fight against corruption, tracking illicit funds and then tracing some of them, and then also reaching out to the international organizations to freeze those assets and then have them repatriated to Nigeria.
Yeah, recovery is not a problem. They are being recovered everywhere. The problem is returning. These developed countries are very good at recovery. They will seize those properties, but keep them. To get them to return them is a big problem.
For Femi Falana, a senior advocate of Nigeria, it is time for the narrative on corruption in Africa to change.
Unlike a situation where we normally blame the victims of corruption, i.e., African countries are corrupt, we are now taking it to the actual promoters of corruption, and that is the West. We are blaming Western countries, blaming Western financial institutions for turning the other eye, while criminals from Africa bring looted wealth and keep it in their banks. If there are no banks to warehouse these funds, people will not take them out of the country. And that is why we need to take advantage of the provisions of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption to demand collaboration with Western governments in retrieving and repatriating the looted wealth of our country. And our government must stop accepting the blame from the West.
It's about the entire kleptomaniac class. We want them to feel unsafe. We want them to feel exposed. They should know that everyone is watching them, and in this day and age, anyone can actually show what is going wrong. So we are dying from the diversion of the monies that we should have been using to develop infrastructure, hospitals, water systems. We are dying from the lack of availability of this, infrastructure and alternative things we should have been spending money on.
The journey of 1,000 miles, of course, starts with a step. This step, the organizers believe it is the right one that will reduce corruption drastically in Nigeria. Tunji Olanipekun, TV360, Lagos.